So in this tutorial, we're going to take a look at Gator and some of the non-destructive workflow found within inside of Softimage. So we're going to start off with a slightly modified version of the XSI primitive. You can load this scene up. It's called Gator inside of your directory. And what we have here is again our character. By pressing the 6 key, this will reveal the layer manager. Here I can turn the visibility of objects on or off. You can see we have several other objects in the scene here. We have these 3 heads. If I turn those off, we also have some armor, which we're going to be using later in the demo. So what we really want to do here is show how that we can basically take the 3 heads that we have up here above our hero character, combine the assets from all of these. By assets, I mean the UV maps, the textures, materials. We actually have some shape animation if we scrub our timeline on the character to the right. Essentially, we want to combine all of those onto one new head and then replace the head that's on our existing character here. Now, they look fairly similar, but if we go and select, just zoom in here and press the F key, this will frame up all of our 3 heads. You can actually notice there's subtle differences between, especially these 2 here. We have these little wrinkles in the eye. I'll just use my roll wheel to zoom in here, and you can see I've added some geometry here to this head. The head over here on the left, very low resolution. In fact, by pressing Shift and S, this is a hotkey that'll allow you to access a number of camera visibility settings. And one thing I want to do is just turn on the stats. So click on the stats tab, and I want to click on the selection info as well as the scene info. And this will show me the current polygon count of all the objects in my scene and also the selected object. Currently, this selected object has only 3,200 triangles. This one here has 13,000, and this one here 11,000. So we're just going to close up our layer manager here for just a second. And what I want to do is transfer first the UV information and the texture map from this object here onto this one here. Now notice they're very differently modeled. This one here would be very easy to texture map just the way it's laid out. This one here would be a little bit more challenging. The new UV unfolder in 7.5 would make this a nice easy task. But let's just show you how we can transfer one UV map to another object very simply. First, select this object here, and I just want to show you what the UV map looks like. By pressing Alt-7, that's the hotkey for our UV texture editor, and here you can see the UVs that are laid out on the head. The red area here indicates an overlap, so I'll just turn that off. And there you can clearly see the texture underneath, as well as the polygons that make up that UV map. Double-clicking on the top of any one of these property pages will allow you to stow it and just sort of park it somewhere else for later access. This character right here, no UV map, nothing at all. In fact, this is the default Softimage texture. This character has no UV on it. It has no material on it other than the base default material, which is a gray Phong shader like we see here. Now, the way we're going to transfer this is using a tool called Gator. And Gator works using basically a closest point algorithm. So what we need to do is get the 2 objects, in this case the 2 heads, in the same location in 3D space so that I can lift that information off. A nice hotkey for resetting your transforms. You'll notice actually this character here has an X value of -3. I could type in 0 if I wanted to there, or if I undo that. A quick hotkey is pressing Control-Shift-R, which will reset the transitions here, the scale, rotation, and translation for your object back to their defaults and put it at the center of the universe, which is what I've done there. Okay, so just zooming in a little bit here now, we can see that we have the two objects, basically one over top of one another. Now, the way Gator works is you select the object that you'd like to receive the data. In this case, it's the higher gray polygon mesh here, and then we're just going to assign a property to it. So I'll say property, and the property is Gator. You'll notice Gator is in all capitals. That's because it's an acronym. It stands for the Generalized Attribute Transfer Operator. And when you click on that, when you select that property, it's asking me to pick something. You can see the word pick there. So it's asking me to pick the object that you'd like to lift the data from. So I'm going to click on, in this case, the lower resolution textured map, right-click to end my selection, and now the Gator property page comes up and is asking me, what is it that I'd like to transfer? Well, in this case, I want to transfer materials, the UVs, vertex colors, essentially everything that makes the low resolution model shade and look the way it does. So pressing transfer, just like that, almost instantly, it built a brand new UV set with that Gator operator. Now, these little options right here, these will allow you to pin property pages so that they don't go away. So I'm just going to click on the lock icon, which will keep my Gator property page preserved. But now check this out. If we open up our UV editor again, and I'll just tell it to have the proper clip here. Look, this is the UV map that Gator generated. This is the one that I created. Now look at the difference. Just a little bit of work here to do this. Send it through Gator, and Gator will completely generate a brand new UV map. It really just works like magic. So let's go ahead and close this off now that we've taken that UV set off the existing model. Now what we need to do is sever the relationship between Gator and in the two objects. Because Gator is always evaluating, if I were to move any of the polygons or adjust the UV map on the low resolution model, it would update and propagate that through to the high res model. So there's two ways you can sever this relationship. If you open up the Scene Explorer here of my object, you can see I've got a Gator operator here in my modeling stack. Now I could press the Freeze Modeling button, which would remove this operator, or another thing you can do is press the Delete button here in the actual Gator property page. I'm going to choose the Delete button. Clicking that actually deleted that low resolution mesh from the scene. It's physically gone. And also the Gator operator is now gone as well. So you can see I've severed that relationship, and now what I have is a nice clean new model with that installed on there, with the UVs baked on the model. Now we have our second character here to transfer over, and this one again has some shape animation. You can see as I scrub the timeline, we've got some shapes. And let's just quickly show you the shape workflow in Softimage before we continue. It's a very cool way of working with shapes. So what you'll do is you select your object and just simply change your user camera here from the user camera to the shape manager. And this will bring up a new UI. And I'll go ahead and just switch this into shaded view. Unselect the mesh, we can see what appear to be a bunch of little green points on the face here. Well, the reason for that is you start off with a base shape, you duplicate that base shape, and then make adjustments to that shape. And what we're seeing here are all of the points that are now in new locations from the original default shape. It automatically builds a slider page for you, so you can begin to animate with these sliders without having to actually build that slider page yourself. Just to show you how easy it is to create a shape, I'm just going to right click on the base shape, click on duplicate, and that creates a brand new shape. I'll rename that shape to something fun like cone head. And let's just go and create a cone head here. So I'll just zoom the camera down a little bit. Press the M key will put me into move component mode, and here I can easily move a point or polygon. Control Z will undo that. I'd like to move a whole bunch of them, so I'm going to get a soft brush or a proportional brush by pressing the this button here that says prop. And now you can see I've got a much bigger area of influence to change and move those points. Pressing the R key and holding it will allow me, with the left mouse button pressed as well, to increase or decrease the radius of that brush. So again, hold down R, change the radius, and now I'm just going to grab these points right here at the top, pull them up, and I should have created an interesting looking cone head there. But what you can see is now that actually created a brand new shape for me. We see that those points are in a new location, and it also created a slider page right there for me as well. It actually added a keyframe here, so go ahead and right click on this little yellow squiggle box there and just click remove animation. Now just because the way our other character has its eyes open, we want to make sure that this character has its eyes open as well, since we're going to pass that shape data on. So to pass that shape data, let's just go back to our user camera, and we've created that new shape now, but I want to now blend and transfer all of these shapes onto this character here. Now remember, they have different polygon counts, which is pretty interesting. So this character here, again, 11,000, this character 13,000. Select the character on the right, press Control, Shift, and R at the same time, or manually move your object so that's over top of the existing object. And we're going to do the exact same operation that we did before using Gator. So select the object that we want to receive the data. In this case, it's the one with the the wrinkles here and also the texture map. Same workflow: Property, Gator. Select the object that we want to receive the data from. Press the right mouse button to end the selection and bring up our Gator property page. From here, I just specify that, yep, I want to transfer all the shapes. Click on the transfer button, and just that easily, I've transferred all my shapes. If I scrub the timeline, we can see that, yep, the shapes sure are transferred, but we are getting a bit of a sluggish frame rate. And that's because of what I was mentioning before about the Gator relationship being left alive. So I do need to sever that relationship in order to get this, to get my performance back, because each frame it's evaluating and trying to transfer new information. So again, I'll just press the delete button. That will sever the Gator relationship, delete the other object from my scene, and now you can see I have full performance of my character now. The shapes are added, the textures are added, and now we're ready to actually add this new head to our existing character. So let's go ahead and press the 6 key. That'll bring up the scene layer manager, and go ahead and unhide our hero character, like so. And you can see we now have two objects over top of one another. If I orbit the camera by pressing the O key and just holding down the left mouse button, I can pan and orbit around here a little bit. And you'll notice this little red-orange line. That's actually the controller for our character here. So you can see we have one head that's rigged up and one head that isn't. If I zoom out just a little bit, just to explain a little bit how the skinning and rigging workflow works within Soft, select the entire character here and press the W key. That'll bring up our weight painting tool. Here you can clearly see the different envelope weights or the skinning weights that are attached to each vertice of our character. Pressing the H key will hide the object, and now you can see the bones underneath are color-coded to match, pressing the H key again to unhide, are matched to reveal the color of the bone that's underneath the skin. So there you can see it's very easy and clear the way the weighting tools work inside of Soft. By pressing the D key, the software will automatically go into wireframe. The mouse will say pick, and from here you could go and just pick the bone that you're interested in painting and begin to paint that bone. I think I actually misselect, but just go ahead and pick a bone, and then you can start to paint that, in that case, the shoulder. Paint that envelope weight. Now, we don't really want to paint any envelope weights. What we want to do is just preserve the weights because we already have one character that's already enveloped, and he's got all the weights already on there. So we can use Gator to re-envelope our new character on top of our old one, or our new head. So let's go ahead and select the head here. We'll go Property, Gator, and now I'm just going to select anywhere on the body, or I could have found a place on the head to select. Right-click, and again, I want to transfer the information. I want to transfer the envelope weights. So click on Transfer. And really in under a second, I've now enveloped the new head to the existing rig. And all the points that were below here, Gator just ignored. So it enveloped it right to there, and then that's the end of the procedure. Now, if I were to press the delete key here, this would actually delete the entire character from the scene. I don't want to do that. I want to keep the body, obviously, and just attach the new head. So this time, what I'll do is to sever the Gator relationship, I'll just press Freeze Modeling with the head selected, and only the head selected. So press Freeze Modeling, and there we go. You'll see the property page disappeared. That essentially tells you that the operation and the operator has been removed. You can see it's no longer in my construction history. And now if I select this controller and move the object, you can see that both of these are now moving. Now let's go ahead and take another look here at how we're going to actually remove the old head and replace it with the new head. So I'm going to go quickly and just turn off and hide my head right there, and we want to remove this existing head because this head here doesn't have the shapes, it doesn't have the textures, nor does it have those added wrinkles that we wanted our character to have. So what we'll do here is select our object, and I've gone ahead and pre-created what's called a cluster. A cluster is just simply a tagged or a selected group of points or polygons that you can then assign a local material to. You could assign a deformer to that. Really just a nice way of grouping part of your mesh into a separate entity, which you can then apply different types of attributes to. Now what I want to do is actually delete all of those points. So press the Alt key and right-click, which will bring up this floating menu, and I just want to click on here, Select Components, which will turn that selected cluster into actually selected polygons. Press the Delete key, and you've actually deleted those polygons, that geometry, from your scene. Now you can see we're left with eyes, some teeth, and essentially a headless character. So let's go ahead and bring back our other head by unhiding it from our layer, and you can see that we now have two objects in our scene. We have the existing head and the existing body, and now what I need to do is stitch those two together to create one seamless character, which is what we had in the beginning. However, if I press the O key and orbit around to the back, and maybe just zoom in a bit with the rolly wheel, you can also press the Z key, by the way, to pan around if you're using the default Softimage navigation keys. So you can see here that I have a hole here and a hole there, so I need to stitch this together. You can see that I'm in multi-mode. That means I have multiple objects selected. If I were to just have one object selected, it would tell you the name of the object. Once you get into more than one object selected, it'll go into that mode here where it'll tell you multi or how many objects that you do have selected. Now, I want to stitch these together. So to do that, I'll click on Create, Polymesh, and I want to merge these two polygons together. So click on Merge, and we've just created a brand new entity called Polymesh. However, if we zoom out and orbit around, you can see that there's no textures on it. You can see the other object underneath, but there's no textures. The default material is back. There's no shapes, no envelope weights. None of that has been transferred over. And we also don't have a very good seam here where we've merged the two objects together. So first, with the merge property page that popped up, go ahead and just change the slider here for the tolerance, and you can see that that'll change how the polygons are stitched together and get this to somewhere around 2.3, which actually gives us a really nice star junction right there, which is perfectly legal and valid. So this is, you can see everything is now running nicely, so that's good. So we've got our mesh set up correctly. But now what we need to do is transfer over the shapes and the materials from the other two objects, the existing head and the existing body, as well as the envelope weights. So thankfully, we have Gator functionality right inside of the Merge Meshes tools. So click on Transfer here, Transfer there, and we've just preserved all of the textures, all the envelope weights, the materials, everything that was on the existing head and body have now been transferred to our new character here. Now I can press the delete key. That'll get rid of the head by itself and the body by itself and leave me with one brand new, fully rigged character that's sharing, seamless. All the properties that we transferred are there. You can see we've got our shapes on there nicely. The envelope is preserved. So there you go. So it's incredibly easy to make changes at any time to a character, to transfer that information from one object to another. What we could have also done is actually just gone ahead and manually added those lines. If all the job really entailed were to add some geometry here, that's something Softimage can handle very well, very easily as well. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and just add a row or two of edges here and just show you how we can modify a pre-rigged character very easily. So what I want to do is first I want to go into edge loop mode by pressing the I key. And now if I press the I key and use my left mouse button to select, you can see I can easily select these edges. Holding down Shift and Control will allow you to do multiple selects, but I want to select an entire ring loop. So what I'll do there is hold down the Alt key, and you notice now I get a different mouse icon, and then just use the middle mouse button to click on any one of these loops, and it'll go ahead and select that entire range. So again, hold down the Alt key, press the middle mouse button, and then select one of those edges, and it'll then select the entire loop. Now that edge loop is selected, press the M key, and this will bring up the Move Component mode. And I can see that I have my proportional brush on, which is why I'm getting a lot of red points there. So go ahead and turn that off, and just make sure that you're moving the edge that you have selected. Now you can see I'm able to move that, but that's not at all the desired result that I want. That's lifting it clear off of the mesh. So press Control Z if you've gone ahead and done that to just to reset that, and click on this little magnet icon down here at the bottom. This activates the slide tool. And now if I just grab the Z axis, or this blue slider, look what I'm able to do. I'm actually able to slide that geometry smoothly along the surface without distorting it at all. And you can do this with groups of polygons, you can do this with edges, points, whatever. This is pretty much a universal tool to slide this. If I get a different profile here, you can see that it's definitely not distorting at all the existing mesh. So now that I've moved that row of edges, I want to select these two, or any two edges here, right click on them, and just say subdivide edges evenly. What that'll do is add one edge in between those two loops, but it gives me the option of parallel edge loop. That'll allow me to extend the selection over the entire range until it either hits a star junction or an area where it can't continue, or runs back into itself like it did here. Now I can go and increase the number of subdivisions to anything I want. You can see there I've added 7. I've added a lot of detail to the face, but the textures are still perfectly intact. I didn't get any texture swimming, and all my shapes are still preserved as well. So you can always make changes to your characters. You can even do very, crazy wholesale changes. For instance, if I turn my proportional brush back on, let's just go and really move some pieces around. And even though I've made very, very large changes, I can still get as best as that's going to be preserved. And everything is logged in the construction history as well. So both those what are called move proportional or move component operators, those are all right here in my stack. So I could have either pressed the undo key if I want those changes to go away, or select the operator and just delete them. And you can see now he's all happy and smiley and back to where he was. Now the last thing I want to do with this character is armor to the mesh. You can see that right now he could definitely use some clothes or something. So we're going to open up our scene manager again here for our layers and unhide the armor that's on the mesh. Now if I grab the armor and just move it quickly over to the right and select both of these objects, you can see that they are they're basically humanoid features, but they're modeled very differently. This is obviously much more rigid here, and this has quite a few more polygons. So I'm going to press Control Z just to undo my move, or you can do the Control Shift R to reset it back at its origin. And I want to lift the envelope from the skin underneath. So I can do that perfectly fine. Watch this. Select the geometry, Property, Gator, select our hero, right click, and again I want to transfer the envelope weights. So even though the character is very different, I can still use the underlying envelope from the skin that's underneath the armor, propagate that upwards and project it outwards onto our armor, and look, everything is now nicely enveloped to our character. Here we don't want to press delete because that'll delete the actual skin underneath. So I do want to freeze. Remember, I still have that live Gator operator, so I want to freeze that. So press freeze M, that'll freeze the modeling. And now you can see that that Gator operator has been removed. And I can now select maybe this controller, wave to everybody, everything is great. And you can see that I was just that easily able to transfer that complex rig all the way over to my armor without having to do any additional work. So it's really a great workflow for not only the non-destructive, but being able to transfer those assets easily from any object to any other object. So that's just been a quick little lesson on Gator and some of the non-destructive workflow features found inside of Softimage.